Dear students, I am Sundara Rao, teaching you the lesson The Dear Departed, part 1. This is a one-act play. It is written by William Stanley Horton. In this play, William Stanley Horton satirizes the degradation of moral values in the British middle class. Satirizes means criticizes. Now, the writer criticizes the degradation of values in our society. Now, let us go into the lesson. Let me read out and what you see on the screen. The characters in this lesson are Mrs. Amelia Slater, Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan. Both of them were sisters. Henry Slater is the husband of Mrs. Amelia, and Ben Jordan was the husband of Mrs. Elizabeth. Victoria Slater is a girl of 10. She is the daughter of Amelia and Henry Slater. Abel Merriweather, the father of Amelia and Elizabeth. Jimmy is the son of Jordans, Mr. and Mrs. Jordans. When the curtain rises, Mr. Slater is seen laying the table. That means we see Mr. Slater is sitting on the table. She is a vigorous, plump, red-faced, vulgar woman, appear to do any amount of straight talking to get her own way. She is black. She goes to the window, opens it, and calls into the street. Now, at the beginning of the play, Mistress Slater is sitting at the dining table. She is a vigorous woman. That means she is a healthy woman. She is a strong woman. Plump means she is a fat lady, a round-bodied lady, red-faced woman. She is always angry, and a vulgar woman. Vulgar woman means she behaves very badly and cruelly. She behaves very badly and cruelly. So, our Mr. Slater is described as a strong and healthy woman, but she is not polite. She is an indecent lady. She is described as an indecent lady. Now, she is a straight talking lady. That means she is ready to argue with any person to get what she wanted. She is ready to argue with any person to get what she wanted. That means she is not afraid of any person. And now she is in black, means she is in black color dress. She goes to the window and calls her daughter, Victoria. Mrs. Slater, sharply, Victoria, Victoria, do you hear? Do you hear me? Come in, will you? Sharply means severely, seriously, and she calls her daughter by name Victoria. So Victoria is a precocious girl. Victoria is a very intelligent girl. She is in a colorful dress. She is playing at the outside of her house. Mrs. Slater, I'm amazed at you, Victoria. I really am. Be off now and change your dress before your Aunt Elizabeth and your Uncle Ben come. It would never do for them to find you in colors with grandfather lying dead upstairs. Now Mr. Slater says that she was surprised to look at Victoria, because she is now in a colorful dress. It would not look good to see in colorful dress, as her grandfather was lying dead upstairs. So Mr. Slater cautioned her daughter that Victoria should not be in a colorful dress, as her grandfather's father is lying dead in the upstairs. Now we learned that Abel Merry, whether the grandfather of Victoria is already dead and his dead body is lying in the upstairs. So she cautioned her girl to change her dress to express mourning at the death of Abel Merry Weather. And also she told her that her Aunt Elizabeth and Uncle Ben Jordan are also coming. Victoria, what are they coming for? They haven't been here for ages. So Victoria, the daughter of Mrs. Amelia Slater, asked her mother, now why are they coming for? They means Mistress Elizabeth Jordan and Mr. Jordan. They haven't been here for ages. So they haven't been here for ages means they are not a regular visitors to their house. Okay. Victor, Mrs. Slater, they are coming to talk over poor grandfather's affairs. Your father sent them a telegram as soon as we found he was dead. So, Mrs. Slater said that Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan and Jordan are coming to discuss about the grandfather's affairs. Affairs means about the grandfather's property. Here, she used the word they are coming to talk over poor grandfather's affairs. The word poor shows sympathy towards the dead person. So, Mrs. Jordan and Mr. Jordan are going to arrive here to talk about grandfather's property and other matters. Henry Slater, a stooping heavy man with a drooping moustache, enters. He is wearing a black tailcoat, grey trousers, a black tie, and a bowler hat. Now, Henry Slater is described here. Henry Slater is the husband of Mistress Amelia Slater and the father of Victoria. So, he is stooping. Stooping means bent forward. A drooping moustache means a hanging downwards. He has such a long moustache, and he is wearing a black tailcoat. So to express his mourning over the death of his father-in-law, now he was in a black colored dress. Henry, I am wondering if they will come at all. When you and Elizabeth quarreled, she said she would never set foot in your house again. So, Henry has a doubt here. He thinks that Elizabeth would not come to their house. Henry expresses his doubt to his wife that Mr. and Mrs. Jordan would not come to their house. There is a reason for his doubt. That is last time when Elizabeth and Jordan were in a quarrel or a fight, a verbal fight, Mistress Elizabeth Jordan told them that she would not visit their house, this Slater's house, in her lifetime again. Mr. Slater, she will come fast enough after her share of what our fathers left. You know how hard she can be when she likes. When she gets it from, I can't tell. But Mr. Slater, the wife of Mr. Henry Slater, and the sister of Mistress Elizabeth Jordan, she has a different opinion, that she thinks that Elizabeth would come fast enough, that her sister would come fast enough to get her share of father's property, and also says that Elizabeth has a hard nature. You know how hard she can be when she likes, means Elizabeth has a hard nature. When she likes, she could be very tough. So from this conversation we learn that Elizabeth Jordan is coming not to see her father, but to take the share of her father's property. No, no. Where she gets it from, I can't tell. Now, Mistress Henry Slater has a doubt how that her sister has got that tough nature. Henry, I suppose it's in the family. Pause. Where are my slippers? Now, Henry, Henry says that hard nature is in the family. So Henry says that a tough nature is in the family, means everyone, that is Abel Merriweather, Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan, the elder sister of Mrs. Amelia Slater, and Amelia herself. They are all very tough in nature. And Mrs. Slater, in the kitchen, your slippers are in the kitchen, but you want a new pair. Those old ones are nearly worn out, nearly breaking down. You don't seem to realize what it's costing me to bear up like I'm doing. My heart's fit to break when I see the little trifles that belong to father lying around and think he will never use them again. Briskly, here, you'd better wear these slippers of my father's now. It's lucky he had just got a new pair. According to Mr. Slater, Henry's slippers were damaged. They were useless. So, according to Amelia, you don't seem to realize what's costing me to bear up like I'm doing. My heart's fit to break when I see the little trifles that belong to father lying around. She's showing courage. Mrs. Amelia Slater is showing courage and determination during the tough times. So, why she is in a tough time? Because her father is already died and his dead body is lying in upstairs. Even though they have difficult times, she also says that trifles. She is upset and worried about unimportant things. She is in an upset mood and she is worried about her father, but she is thinking about unimportant things. Now she knows that her father doesn't wear the slippers as he is already dead. Henry, they will be very small for me, my dear. Henry says that those slippers will be very small for him. Mr. Slater, they will stretch. They will stretch. Won't they? I am not going to have them wasted. She has finished laying the table. Henry, I have been thinking about the bureau of my father's. That's in his bedroom. You know, I always wanted to have it after he died. So, Mrs. Amelia Slater told him that the slippers would stretch if he would put them on. So she asked him to wear the dead man's slippers, her father's slippers, even though they are very short. They were very small. And now she expressed her desire. What's her desire? She wants to have the bureau of her father, which was in his bedroom in the upstairs. You know, I always wanted to have it after he died. So, since a long time back, she wanted to have her father's bureau even before his death. She has the desire. Now, she wants to get that bureau. Henry, you must arrange with Elizabeth when you are dividing things up. But Henry advised her to talk to Elizabeth when dividing the things up. So, Henry Slater advised her to talk to her sister Elizabeth when dividing the things up. Mr. Slater, Elizabeth, that sharp, she will see I am after it, and we will drive a hard bargain over it. Amelia thought that Elizabeth is so intelligent. Maybe she wants her the bureau. And we will drive a hard bargain over it means she also says that a hard bargain means to demand a lot or refuse to give too much when you are making an agreement. It means that They are going to argue over the bureau. Both sisters has to argue over the bureau. According to Amelia, next, Mrs. Slater, Henry, perhaps she has got her eye on bureau as well. Mrs. Slater, she has never been here since father bought it. If it was only down here, instead of in his room, she would never guess it wasn't our own. According to Amelia, Elizabeth had never come to their house since their father bought it. So, Elizabeth had no idea whether that bureau was Slater's bureau or of Abel Mary's. Now, she wants that bureau to get down that bureau even before the arrival of Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan. Henry, startled. Amelia, he rages. Henry was surprised to hear this and he stood up. Mrs. Slater, Henry, why shouldn't we bring that bureau down here now? We can do it before they come. Mrs. Slater say that they should bring that bureau down there before the Jordans come. So she wanted to bring that bureau downstairs even before the arrival of Jordans. Mrs. Slater says to Henry that she should do that before Jordans came. Henry, stupefied. Henry, stupefied. I wouldn't care to. Don't look so daft. Why not? Mrs. Slater said. Henry, it doesn't seem delicate somehow. No, Mr. Henry was not interested in doing that, bringing the bureau down. So, Mr. Slater called him a silly fellow, a stupid. Why couldn't they bring down the bureau? Mr. Slater, we could put that shabby old chest of drawers upstairs where the bureau is now. Elizabeth could have that and welcome. I have always wanted to get rid of it. Mr. Slater, Henry is talking of that act. He is not talking about the bureau. Henry is talking about the act of stealing. Bureau is not a wise thing to do. It is not a sensible act. It is morally incorrect. So, Henry Slater denies to bring that bureau to the downstairs. And it is immoral. But Amelia wanted to put the old chest of drawers upstairs in the place of bureau and wanted to bring down the bureau. She always wanted to throw away the old chest of drawers. So Elizabeth wanted to get rid of, means she wanted to throw away the old chest of drawers of her, and she wanted to get her father's bureau. Henry, suppose they come when we are doing it. Mrs. Slater said that they should bring that bureau down there before Jordans come. Pachecha. Suppose they come when we are doing it. Mr. Slater, I will fasten the front door. Get your coat off. Henry, we will change it. So, Mr. Henry has a doubt. He expressed his doubt. If Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan and Jordan comes when they were doing that, when they were stealing that bureau, when they were getting that bureau of Mr. Abel Merriweather to the downstairs, Mrs. Slater assured that she would fasten. Mr. Slater assured to Henry that she would fasten, she would lock the front door. She has asked him to remove his coat off. So Mr. Slater goes out to fasten the door. Henry takes his coat off. Mr. Slater reappears. So after fastening the door, the front door, she came back and Henry took off his coat as per the instructions of his wife. Mr. Slater, I will run up and move the chairs out of the way. So she told her husband that she would go up and make the way. Victoria appears, dressed according to her mother's instructions. So Victoria, the daughter of Mrs. Amelia Slater and Henry Slater, she came in a black dress. Victoria, what have you got your coat off for, father? Victoria has a doubt. She has asked her father why Mr. Slater has removed his coat off. So she questioned him why he has removed his coat off. Henry, mother and I are going to bring grandfather's bureau down here. So Henry told her that he and Victoria's mother, they are going to bring Mr. Abel Mary's bureau to the downstairs. Victoria, are you planning to pinch it? Victoria. Again, asked her father, Mr. Henry Slater, whether they were going to steal the bureau of her grandfather, that is Amelia's, Amelia's father's bureau. Shocked, Henry, shocked. No, my child, Grandpa gave it to your mother before he died. Henry was shocked to hear such a question from a 10-year-old girl. That too, his own daughter. Now she expressed her doubt whether they are going to steal the grandpa's bureau. No, my child, Grandpa gave it to your mother before he died. No, he told her that her grandfather had given that bureau before his death to them. This morning, Henry, yes. Victoria, hey, he was drunk this morning. So, Victoria, hey, he was drunk this morning means Victoria feels that maybe in a drunken mood her grandfather might have given that bureau to Mr. and Mrs. Amelia Slatters. Mr. Slatters. Mr. Slatter appears carrying a handsome cloak under her arm. Mr. Slatter, I thought I would fetch this down as well. She puts it on the mantelpiece. Our clocks worth nothing, and this always appealed to me. Now Mr. Slatter came downstairs with a handsome clock under her arm. She says that the clock is a worthful clock. Her father's clock is a worthful clock, and so she brought it down. She also said that their clock is a useless one, and her father's clock is a very attractive one. Victoria, that's Grandpa's clock. Mrs. Slatter, be quiet. It's ours now. Come, Henry, lift your hand. So, Mrs. Slatter asked her daughter to keep quiet. Then, Henry and Mrs. Slatter, very hot and flushed, staggering with a pretty old-fashioned bureau containing a locked desk. They put it where the chest of drawers was and straightened the ornaments, etc. There is a knock at the door. The knocking is repeated. So Henry and Mrs. Slatter, they are very hot. So Mrs. Slatter asked Henry to help her, and they started to carrying that bureau. Their faces were red in color because they were carrying a heavy bureau and they were staggering. Stagger means walking unsteadily. So they were carrying a heavy bureau. So Mistress Emilia Slater and Mr. Henry Slater, they were staggering. They put the bureau in the place of a chest of drawers and they were doing adjustments. At that time, there is a knock at the door. The knocking is repeated. That means someone has come.